Like, I don't think they are okay. They're just tolerating you.
Hello everyone, I'm Aoife and I'm 22 this year.
Hello everyone, my name is Andy and I'm 25 this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohana and I'm 25 this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Devitra and I'm 23 this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Joell and I'm 23 this year.
Dating preferences are a sign of racism.
The reason why I say agree is because if you are open-minded, you would be able to see someone beyond their race. And race is not an ultimate thing that tears people apart. Other factors, maybe such as character or religion, could be more serious and something that's more personal, yes. Even like in the Indian community too, I don't date Indian girls. A lot of Indian guys would say that I don't date Indian girls. And that kind of like, then where do we go? It's not like a lot of Chinese guy would want to date Indian girls too. Well,
Can I ask something? Just now you mentioned about Indian guys don't want to date Indian girls, right? Is it possible to be racist to your own race?
Yes.
I think
yes.
Okay, that's new to me.
maybe like some people ask me like, oh, why you study so hard? Like you Malay know you study so hard. Why you never just like lepak? Why you never just play guitar, sing song? Like you don't care. That's all. Like just because like I'm from that community, somehow I'm supposed to belong to this certain group. Like whatever you think it is lah.
I think it's important to break that because just because you're Indian doesn't mean that you are a certain way. You know, there's so many different types of Indians. There's, you know, even appearance-wise, there's light-skinned Indians, there's darker-skinned Indians. We should embrace or educate people on our culture. That's very important.
And I guess it's important to know that like these biases that you have are not set in stone. They are malleable. And the more you see the world, the more you meet people, the more you understand like people's differences and like their experience, like lived experiences, like your idea of race will change. They're not set in stone.
Microaggressions are rooted in stereotypes.
Microaggression is not exactly outright racism. It can take the form of like offhanded comments or painful jokes or like pointed insults rooted in stereotypes because you have an underlying belief of a certain group.
A few years ago, I was working for my cousin's company just for 3 days. 3 days only. And I managed to live this experience to continuously tell as an example of microaggression or racism. So I was just working, doing desk job stuff, right? And then this guy, he was of a high authority, came over to our department to ask something. And before he left, he suddenly broke out and spoke in an Indian accent in English. And then the next thing I knew, he took a blue tack and stuck it to his forehead. And he continued speaking like that. And this guy is like a middle-aged guy. You get what I mean? Like he has lived in Singapore all his life. He's seen like diversity is not new to him at all. I don't think so. And when my cousin told him like, oh, hey, that's not right, his excuse was, and I quote, I have Indian friends and they are okay with it.
Andy's face.
I mean,
That is the worst response you can give.
Wow.
I was just sitting there in rage. I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to do anything out of anger. There's no point fighting this when you're very emotionally triggered. So I just took the back seat and I let my cousin handle it.
Sometimes it's okay to screw up, and if you don't know what you're doing, but if somebody tells you that's wrong, that's when you should know and be like, okay, yeah, that's where I should stop. Because sometimes if you do it unintentionally, everybody does mistakes. That's okay. But if you keep doing it and if you are completely ignorant to the fact that it's hurtful and it's racist and it's wrong, that's when it's really unacceptable. And a lot of people still get away with it.
Yeah, and I felt like I let him get away with it because I was in a tight situation.
If you were to go back in time, would you have said something to him or like start the?
I would have just asked him what makes you think that your friends feel it's okay for you to speak like that to them. Like I don't think they are okay. They're just tolerating you.
Maybe I just want to ask another question. Do you think it's a chore to educate people who are ignorant to all these things?
I think it is a chore for us to keep telling people like, hey, that's wrong. But then again, I feel like if we want any change to happen, we must point it out. You don't have to go through the whole like A to Z, like, oh, why this is wrong. You can just say, hey, this is wrong. This is like hurting my feelings. I don't think you can say that.
I want to ask Andy and Joel, like, do you go out of your way to educate people if you hear someone passing on racist comment?
I think I've made the effort to cultivate a group of friends that have very similar mindsets to me, value systems. But yeah, there are instances where like an acquaintance would mention something. So I think the most recent example would be we were having a group project and I have a friend who's Malay and she saw her friend who was also Malay and she said hi to him. And then this other Chinese girl in my group asked like, how come you don't call him Abang? And it was just such a tone-deaf comment. I was so shocked and I asked her like, what makes you think it's okay to ask her that? And what makes you think that every Malay person calls another Malay person abang, you know? And then she was just like, oh, you know, but isn't it quite common? So I was just like, okay, you call every Chinese person koko meh? Which like, no, right? And I would never ask you that, you know, you would never find like my Malay friend asking you that. And I think she was just ignorant. I don't think she meant anything malicious by it. But for me, I do feel like it's important, especially when the person is ethnically like from a majority race and just probably hasn't had any sort of awareness or exposure up to this point. Yeah, I do take it upon myself. I think I earn the side of caution. I feel like it also depends on whether I feel the person is receptive.
I think I completely agree with whether your friends are receptive or not. As in, there are a lot of times where, you know, when remarks are made, I think it's not intentional. Whatever they say, the intended outcome is for you to laugh. So what I do, because I know that they are not like, you know, they are not receptive, but I will just not react. But then slowly when they see these kind of responses from their peers, I think they'll start to reflect, why isn't this person reacting the way that my message is supposed to be?
So I think the most important thing is to, at the end of the day, before you say something, like pause before you say anything and like reframe your narrative. Like, is there a way I can say something better without like, you know, bringing in the idea of race or even gender or sexuality, anything like that. Like if you're planning to compliment someone, oh, like you're so pretty for a Malay, like you don't have to say you're pretty for a Malay, you can just say you're pretty, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like your intent is there, but you don't have to stain it with your prejudice of what that race or that particular group of people should be.
The trend of speaking up against racism has made society too sensitive.
I think sensitivity is an easy word to brush aside the real issues here. It's like sometimes, right, if you don't have an issue with something, right, why will you spend the effort to write an Instagram post, write so many things to explain your point, and decorate it until that it's very appealing?
I think it's a matter of framing. It's a matter of how you see and how you perceive people speaking up more and being affected by things. Like, would you consider that good because it's awareness, or do you see it more negatively, that people are just not as thick-skinned as before?
That's actually true. I agree with Joel. I think feeling too sensitive is not wrong, especially someone who has, you know, been criticized before. Growing up, like people would call me, or I guess Indians in general, black, smelly, you know, curly hair is ugly, or hairy arms is ugly, that is not deemed beautiful and things like that. So I have the rights to be overly sensitive because it's something that affected my self-esteem growing up. It's something that made me hate my culture and make me wanna normalize myself to the societal definition of beauty. I think what's more important is how you tackle the situation. If you're very emotionally triggered, if you feel like it's something that you feel very passionate towards, I think more than reacting, it's better to analyze and approach it in a very organized manner, in a very civil manner, because I don't think it's wise to fight fire with fire.
Adding on to that, I think that people are more aware. So yes, I think it's totally okay to talk about it, and we should talk about it. But at the same time, I don't want it to be just like, oh no, it's like just saying things for the sake of saying it. But like really, people should say it because they want to learn more. It's okay to like have an opinion and then change it later on. It's okay to get educated. But especially like being an Indian myself, I used to feel very scared to talk about racism. But now I think that it's so important because when you start questioning like your identity and being like, oh, why am I Indian? That's a huge problem. And I mean, I don't have that anymore, but I did have that last time. And I'm sure a lot of younger kids who are Indian probably do have that. So this is an important thing to talk about so that people feel better about themselves. And you should be proud of your race because your race is like your identity.
Thank you for watching this episode of Noted. We hope this episode has placed certain things into perspective. We've also included some links in the description box if you would like to learn more about this topic.
If you would like to join the conversation or share a story, comment down below. Be sure to subscribe to SG Layers for more interesting content. See you next Monday.